Nope.
Not me either.
I've heard very mixed things so far. Hmm. Hmm. No, neither. I've never been that big a fan of it.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Esports Cup. J.R. Gregory here with you on the call. Beside me in the commentary booth, my partner, Aaron Smith, and in the production facility, our friend and colleague, Joshua Wilkie. And the star of today's show, as always, the Radical SR10, one of the purest sports car experiences on iRacing, propelled by a 450 horsepower four-cylinder turbo, a full 1,000 pounds lighter than an MX-5 Cup car. No traction control and no anti-lock brakes make this car a handful, but mastering the SR10 will make you better in every car that you drive. And folks, we are showing the top split here, Friday 2100 GMT of the public server. It is not a private event. It is not a league event. So if you'd like to give these fantastic radicals a whirl and appear with us here on Apex Racing TV and test your skills against some of the best radical drivers in the world, go ahead, sign up, show up. If you make the top split, you will be here with us on YouTube, and our upcoming schedule is fantastic. Next week, the Daytona Road Course, which is going to be a hoot, followed by the epic Phillip Island, Brands Hatch, Barcelona, Long Beach Grand Prix is going to be fantastic, and the season finale at the Nordschleife. So we have a great schedule lined up for you if you would like to participate. As I said, all you got to do is show up. And the sharp-eyed among you will see where we're at now. 2025 Season 1, Week 5 brings us to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve on the island of Notre Dame, I suppose, up in Montreal, Canada. Completed in 1978 was the first race, won by the hometown hero, who is this track's namesake, currently host to the Canadian Grand Prix, past host to American Champ Car, Grand Am, and believe it or not, even NASCAR. And the lap record here currently, as you might imagine, 113.078 set by Valtteri Bottas in a Mercedes F1 car back in 2019. And I think it's worthy of noting, I think this is the only track who celebrates crashes by naming part of the track after a wall that has consumed a lot of cars. And we'll talk about that later. But after the chicane there at the pit entry on the start-finish straight, the outside wall there is called the Wall of Champions. It was named after ending the races of Damon Hill, Michael Schumacher, and Jacques Villeneuve back in 1999, and since then has chewed up a couple more, including Jenson Button and Sebastian Vettel. So my goodness, Aaron, this track is super exciting. I've really been looking forward to this race, and something that stands out about this one in these radicals, this is one of those tracks where taking big risks is not a choice. It is mandatory. There are a couple of big curbs that you have got to clobber to get a good lap time. And there are a couple places where if your mirror is not scraping the wall, you are not doing enough to widen that line and maximize your speed through some of these corners. So what are you expecting out of these cars today?
I'm expecting a good challenge. The racing that we're going to get tonight is going to be probably very, very different from what we've seen so far this season. It's going to be a lot about what you were talking about, just that risk versus reward factor and who's willing to gamble more going into every single corner. And at least so far in this qualifying session, it looks like Christoph Lipp has absolutely shot his way on his qualifying lap, taken every single risk, and it's paid off for him. 0.3 of a second ahead of second place. That is a big old chunk of time. And, well, I mean, no matter how far you get in front in the qualifying places, you're still going to be on pole. But can he do it in the race? It's difficult to overtake here, but not impossible. It's going to be... I think the off-tracks could be something that we could keep an eye on as well. Like you said, the risks you have to take around here are absolutely insane. And I think we can probably expect some crashes as well, like you said.
Oh, yeah, we're going to see some radicals in the barriers. We're going to see some cars looping out of that final hairpin, and we're going to see a lot of action today. But as we said, there's your starting grid. Christoph Lipp with a 1:30.168. That is insanely fast, and that tells me that we're going to be into the 129s during the race, which is just nuts. Next to him, James Barry. Behind them, Tom Lennox Brown and Andre Castro. Havard Gullikson will be next to Christopher Yanakis in row 3. In 7 and 8, Luke Crowley, Heinz Braun, Kim Andre Björklund will be next to Morten Stromstead there in 9 and 10. George Gonzaga will be next to Jacob Goebbels there in row 6. And Kettle Larson will find himself next to Denis Karakopoulos there in 13 and 14. Hesterman next to De Graaf. Gabriel Bouclier next to Louis Dorito. I'm sure I said that wrong. And in the back there in 19 and 20, we will have Rob Cox versus Mika Hulkinen taking up the rear. And the clock is winding down here on the grid. If everybody doesn't pop in a second, iRacing is going to force the start in about 30 seconds. Currently waiting on Andre Castro. And a nice overhead view of Notre Dame Island there. And our lights are lit. And we're green at Montreal. I think I saw a jump start there somewhere in the back of the field. Somebody has already, gotten out to a start that they didn't want, just like last week. And it's going to be Lipp leading Barry and leading Andre Castro here into turn 1 as this one gets underway.
Well, from what I can see, that's a huge hit into the wall, and that is already 3 or 4, maybe even 5 cars out of the race already. And that was Hulkinen, Stromstead, Cox, Larson, and Dorito, I think, who was involved in that one, as Christoph Lipp still leads the way here at Montreal. I did quickly check to see if anyone had a black flag. I can't see anything, so whoever did might have just gotten away with it, as I think there is a tiny bit of leniency in the jump starting in iRacing, but it is a very, very small margin, as Christoph Lipp taking a huge amount of curb going through turns 8 and 9, which you can just about do in this car, but you have to get it pretty much spot on. As here we go then down into the hairpin for the first time. It's Crowley versus Heinz Braun, and Heinz with the inside line just about manages to keep a hold of that position. And on to the casino straight we go for the first time. And of course, no DRS in these cars. I don't really think they need it. The slipstream's powerful enough. Let's not talk about DRS, because these guys might have a heart attack, as round the outside attempts Andre Castro into the final corner. They make a brief bit of contact. James Barry and Andre Castro nearly sent themselves into the wall. And, well, the Wall of Champions nearly just claimed another one in James Barry, but just about managed to keep it on the track, as Castro up to second. Barry now desperately trying to defend third, but I don't think he's going to hold on, as Lennox Brown goes up into third place. Barry now on the brink of losing fourth as well. Janakis is not too far behind.
My goodness, what a move by Andre Castro there, muscling it in to that final chicane. And Josh is going to let us take another look at that. And first lap cold tires, and Castro making the most of his opportunity. James Berry moves over in an attempt to cover the inside. Usually works here. That outside entry really tough, and you saw what Castro had to do to make that work as he hammers that radical across that huge curb there. And as a GT3 driver, I'm used to launching my 911 four wheels off the ground right there, but I'll tell you, these radicals do not like going airborne, and they do not like bouncing down the track, as you just saw there. So get away with it once or twice, but you would not want to do that 17 laps in a row, because the odds would catch up with you and you'd find yourself upside down facing the wrong direction and spinning probably.
Well, it's a very good thing. Ooh, there was someone spinning on the exit of turn 10 there. That was Hesterman, completely gunning it coming out of that corner and spun up those rear tires. I think he avoided the wall though, so very, very lucky to get away with that one. We can take a quick look and see if he might have touched the cross on the outside, or if he did just stamp on it on the exit, which yes, he did. He just completely gave it a bootful and unfortunately lost a few positions and a few seconds as well, but is still in the race, and obviously that is what matters most. As Lennox Brown now is all the way down to 8th place. I think something has happened to him, as he was in, what, 3rd place, I believe, as Hesterman going off the circuit again into the first few corners, and that is another error by him. But this is what happened, I believe, on the first lap with Stromstead, as he gets all loosey-goosey, and then I think that's Larson who comes next to him, crashes into him. That's Holkonen out as well. Excuse me, and I think a few other cars got caught in the crossfire as well.
Oh my goodness, and Holkonen there saw that yellow flag and was pretty sure that meant floor it, and my goodness, there are a couple of, well, I was being too hard on him. He didn't really have anywhere to go there, but there's a couple spots on this track, Aaron, where low speed corners in second gear where you have to be pretty careful rolling on the throttle, and that is one of them. And you saw a couple drivers get bitten there by those rear tires without traction control, lighting up the car, over rotating. And here we are back in the front, and that is Barry. It looks like Yanakis is going to try to squeak by him. How about 3 wide? Oh, come on, fellas. Oh, that was disappointing. But yeah, now it's lit from Castro, from Barry, Yanakis, and Braun there. You see them, Barry, Yanakis, and Braun, 3 wide, headed down into the turn 1. And Barry is just kind of getting pushed around a little bit here today, Aaron, and that's not something we normally see out of him.
No, not really. He genuinely is just getting absolutely battered left, right, and centre, like he's the ball in a tennis court. And well, he's gone from, I think, what, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and well, possibly even 6th that we might have not seen at some point. But he managed to keep a hold of the place going to the last corner, but just got such a terrible exit, having gone so narrow into the last few corners, and did lose the place to both of them initially. But Heinz Braun, being Heinz Braun, was very aggressive into turn 1, and Yanakis just about managed to keep ahead of James Barry, but only just, as they all get so close to the wall on the outside of turn 9, as that is just one of about 3 or 4 walls around here where you basically, like Gregory said, you have to be basically within touching distance. Like, if you can't lean out of the car and touch the wall, you're doing something wrong. You have to be up against it. And I hope that iRacing is fully compatible with your internet. Otherwise, well, many bad things can happen. As Lennox Brown, I mentioned earlier on, just had a spat of losing about 5 places in one corner. I don't really know what happened to him, but he's now down to 8th position. And something I was going to say earlier on was it's a good thing that these cars don't really have wear on them necessarily, as well, like you said, JR, if they were constantly abusing those curbs all day and constantly abusing each other like that, they would be battering each other left and right. There was another car that spun in the background. It might have been Goebel, as he loses a bunch of positions. Heinz Braun definitely with a huge slowdown there, and I couldn't quite see. I think we caught the wrong angle at the wrong moment, as I think that's Heinz Braun going off the track again, as Gonzaga also has an issue in turn 6. It's all happening down there in the first sector here at Montreal. And I don't really know what you made of this, JR.
Yeah, wild stuff. And you're going to see Christopher Yanakis, Heinz Braun's new best friend here, just stuff it down the inside and completely spear Braun knocking him across the track through the corner and causing that slowdown. It happens a little bit later in this lap. I'm going to say it's turn 1 where the kerfuffle happens. We're watching a replay of the action leading up to that. And maybe we'll just stay with it here for just another minute. We're getting close. Here is that final chicane at the pit straight. The wall of champions. You see the concrete dust flying. Now watch Yanakis here. He's in the purple car. Heinz Braun is leading this train, and Yanakis just flings it down. Bang! See you later, Heinz. And my goodness, that is not going to make Yanakis any friends on the grid, and a big slowdown for Heinz Braun, who up until that point, Aaron, he was up 5 positions thanks to a couple of aggressive moves and some pretty good driving in the early laps.
Oh, and there's some more aggressive driving going into the first few corners, and Yanakis has spun the car around, and he's going to have to be careful, and that's not the way to do it, as he's reversed himself into the barrier, and he's fallen all the way down to 13th place. So his race, a potential podium looks on the cards for the Canadian, but unfortunately at his home track, he's not going to get any better probably than 10th place today, especially now that he has some damage as well. But that incident into turn 1, it was a bit weird. It was kind of like Yanakis misjudged completely how close he was to Heinz Braun, hit him up the back, and then they both had an awkward turn 1 as a result of it, and they both slammed into each other. And unfortunately, I think Yanakis' confidence was very much knocked after that. And Heinz Braun, we could see him make a little bit of a comeback, as he's currently in 8th, where he started. But he has got those cars he was just fighting with directly in front of him. So still some time for Heinz Braun to make it up, but I don't think we're going to see much of Yanakis after this. As here's another replay of Yanakis as he went into turn 1. I think this is what happened on one of the previous laps. But yeah, not a good day for the home race favourite.
Yeah, and I had not noticed that he was Canadian, so he may be riding a little bit of extra adrenaline here, having a chance to get a podium on his home circuit. And I know a handful of Canadians, such as our producer Josh, and I will tell you, they are unbridled balls of aggression. And you saw Yanakis lashing out there at Heinz Braun, and joking, of course, that Josh is one of the mellowest guys you'll ever meet. But meanwhile, up front, look at Castro. It's turning into a track day for the cars up front. Lip has got a 4-second lead on Castro, and Castro leading James Berry by 3 seconds. And then I had that backward. No, I guess that's about right. And Berry protecting his podium for the time being from a little train featuring Gullickson, Lennox Brown, and Crowley. Gullickson sniffing around behind Berry with about a 2/10 second gap. There they are. There's a train of 5 cars led by James Berry, only 7 laps down out of 17. And I was anticipating nonstop action in this one, and so far so good. It is an exciting track, but it is a very tough track, and the designers of this place do not care about your mirrors, your bodywork, or your ego, because they're going to chew up some cars out here today.
Well, let's hope we can continue to have some great action in this race as, well, like you said, Christoph Lipp is putting in one of the performances of the season. Absolutely no one competing with him today, as Luke Crowley and Bjorklund going side by side, as is James Brown and Gullickson, as the Norwegian driver goes up the inside into 3rd place he goes, but James Berry is just about keeping this fight going. But into turn 6 and 7, there is just absolutely no fighting he can do there. 3 and 4, as Crowley managed to keep ahead of Bjorklund as well. And it is quite easy to defend around this track, I would say. Track position is definitely favourable. Not really the slipstream track that we've been to a few times this season. There's a couple overtaking spots here and there, of course, down the casino straight into the last chicane and into the first corner. But apart from that, as long as you can keep the car on the road, set some good lap times, you probably will keep the place. And honestly, I think that's what is going to happen here. If Gullickson can get his head down, just put him some good lap times, I think he's very much in the position to keep a hold of that 3rd place. As Yanakis forcing an error for Bolsier there as he goes up into 11th place, and Graf now looking at the back of Bolsier as well for 12th place as Crowley trying to defend against Bjorklund, but Bjorklund is hounding him around the outside. Doesn't really tend to work around that corner. We've seen it a few times today, but it was extremely risky as Gonzaga and Kirakopolis also going side by side, and the driver's getting so close to the outside wall of the final corner there, but everyone's just about making it through.
Yeah, crazy stuff out here. I love to see that concrete dust flying. There's a couple tracks on the service that feature that, Bothurst, Long Beach, and certainly here, as I said, we're going to see a section of it coming up here momentarily at the exit of this chicane. Look at those tire marks they added to the wall there. You have got to be all the way on the red material there, all the way up to the wall on every lap if you have any chance at all. And one of the thrilling things about Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, for sure. And we're going to take another quick peek at Christoph Lipp here. He's sporting that insert name here, new livery that he picked up for this season, joining Barry, Friedrich, Karakopolis, Gonzaga, and probably leaving somebody out. They're taking up about half the grid these days. And here's a look at Gullickson. He's got Barry, Lennox Brown, Crowley, and Bjorklund behind, and you'll probably see Bjorklund weave a little bit. And yeah, Aaron, you're right. Tough to overtake here. There's certainly a lot of slipstream happening here on the Casino Straight, but fairly easy to defend the inside of the super tight chicane here as we see this group of cars led by Gullickson completing lap 10, and that's going to leave us about 7 to go. These laps ticking by quickly, but certainly eventfully.
Oh, I don't think the battling's going to stop anytime soon, and, well, it's going to stop for Heinz Braun and Crowley at least, as, well, Heinz Braun has been at the rough end of the stick as he wiggles his way across the track, coming out of turn 2, and somehow manages to keep it pointing in the right direction. We kind of caught the end of that, didn't really see what was going on up until then. I think Braun was going for an aggressive move up the inside, and I think Crowley kind of misjudged it and ran into the back of him. A bit deep from Braun, but it's a fair one. And yeah, Luke just completely drives into the back of him. And well, as aggressive as Heinz Braun has been in the past, and he has been today, it's been one of those days where, for once, I really do feel bad for Braun. None of these incidents have been his fault at all. And that was just lack of awareness there, I think, from Luke. He really probably should have done a bit better there.
Yeah, a little early on the throttle for Crowley, and we have been watching Braun for several seasons here, and he often makes that aggression work for him, but rolling the dice frequently giveth and it taketh away, and today it is taketh and away from Heinz Braun, who's now sitting one position down from his qualifying position. At one point he was up 5 and making a move toward the podium when he had his first bit of contact, and I can't see his, oh my goodness, can't see his incident points, but a little curious how many he has racked up. And that Fanatec car there of Menno de Graaf, I hope he's going to stop and see the medic. That looked like about a 5G hit there into the wall of champions. And I talked about it before the event. I knew that we were going to see some people getting a little taste of that wall, and de Graaf does it here. And I'm betting a little bit too much curb. And just a little overcooking that entry and over-rotating under braking there. Tried to trail brake it through the first part, over-rotated, and biff nose first into the wall. So the wall of champions claims another victim, and it is Menno de Graaf.
Yeah, like you said, completely went too deep into that final corner. And it's actually one you don't tend to see very often. It's always drivers hitting the wall on the exit, not necessarily spinning on their way in. But his car looks far from ideal at the moment, as I believe that's Holkonen, who is a lap down trying to get past. And I think Menno de Graaf, it's admirable that you're trying to carry on, but sometimes you have to cut your losses and accept that your car is beyond repair. And, well, I think we'll probably see him coming into the pits, as that is Gullickson, and claiming another car there. I believe that's Lennox Brown. And that was a very out of blue mistake. We literally just cut to Gullickson, who was defending from James Barry and completely did exactly what De Graaf did, overcooking the entry there. And, it was actually the curb there. And Lennox Brown with nowhere to go. And, wow, that was a mistake. I don't think many of us were expecting. Gullickson, a very experienced driver, who we don't really see often making those kind of mistakes, just completely overcooks the entry, hits that curb, and spins himself round, and nothing Lennox Brown could do there. And it's cost both of them a shot at the podium, unfortunately.
Yeah, wild stuff there, and kind of classic James Barry, Aaron. I mean, we've seen him struggling a little bit in this race. He's getting pushed around a little bit by other drivers with their elbows out, but he stayed consistent and kept applying the pressure on the back of Gullickson lap after lap. And finally, Gullickson made a slight mistake in a place where even a slight mistake can lead to disaster. And look at James Barry. He has found himself up in P3. He's got a 6-second gap ahead, but more importantly, a 4-second gap behind. So if he can hang on for 5 more laps driving by himself here, he will secure that podium after really struggling at a number of times during this one. So, consistency, smoothness, and having faith and keeping yourself in position has served James Barry again. That's really the recipe that has made him a repeat champion in these Radical Esports Cup seasons.
Yeah, 100%. And, well, that's the thing. As someone involved in sport, not just in sim racing or anything, as quickly, this is Kyrkopoulos and Yanakis fighting with each other. As Yanakis actually has made a decent comeback so far in this race. This could be 8th place for him. He was once down in 13th, but I think in the middle part of the lap, we're not really going to see a move from him unless he decides to send one up the inside. But just in sport, if you can always turn a bad day into a good result, then you really are at the top of your game. And like you said, that's often what James Barry is able to do. Of course, sometimes it doesn't go to plan, but most of the time, like you said, he just manages to sneak his way into a good position as well. That's Yanakis not really sneaking his way past Kyrkopoulos. A bit of a shove there onto the grass. So I think the Swiss man will be a little bit up in arms about that as he drops down to 10th place, possibly needed to serve a slowdown for that as well. And maybe Yanakis seeing a bit of red mist there. Wouldn't really be surprised. But yeah, James Barry definitely turning a difficult day for him. And, well, to be honest, for the rest of the grid, by the looks of it, into a decent result, as Lip is really just checking out. I haven't seen a dominant performance like this in the Radical Series for a while.
Yeah, Lip and Castro both lapping well ahead of the other competitors. Lip's fast lap appears to be a 130.1, and that is driving alone with no draft. Castro just behind him, a 130.25, and the next faster competitor looks like it could be Barry at a 130.5. So those guys up front are lapping 3 or 4 tenths quicker than anyone else in the field, and this is the top split in a pretty competitive field. So that just shows you Lip and Castro are the class of this event here today, as we see Lip in the number 1 car driving off, very high rated driver and very fast. And going back to Kyrkopoulos and Yanakis there, that's definitely a slowdown, I can say from experience early today. You cut that chicane, it's one of the worst slowdowns on the course. That's about 5 seconds. So that little shove by Yanakis pushing Kyrkopoulos through that chicane cost him 5 seconds, and any chance that he had of moving up from where he was running completely took him out of that battle. And here's a little peek around the inside here. It's Lennox Brown trying to make up for his past problems. Stuffs it down the inside of that chicane. Here's another spot where you have to be pretty careful with the throttle. Haven't seen any spins there yet today, which was a bit surprising for me. And let's watch Rob Cox here and watch that draft go to work. And the lack of a tail there on Gullickson not helping. The aero really important on these Radicals, and Gullickson has spit off a little bit of body work on a couple laps ago, heading into the Wall of Champions.
Yeah, this is where iRacing's damage model does show its weaknesses. As you'd think, without a rear wing, Gullickson should be well, just unbeatable on the straights, but in the corners he should be an absolute sitting duck. I think that's something that I think a lot of people have mentioned before about iRacing's damage model, that sometimes it doesn't make any sense, and you know, you can lose a front wing or a rear wing and somehow you gain drag. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you know, iRacing do iRacing things sometimes, and this is just one of those occasions. As I'm surprised Gullickson hasn't actually come into the pits, to be honest, as he does have a huge amount of damage on his car, but I guess it wouldn't really have made too much of a difference. He's pretty much down and out of it either way, and perhaps the repairs would take too long. I'm kind of surprised he doesn't have a meatball either, you know, without the rear of his car. It's a pretty important bit, but again, I don't really know how iRacing decides if you get a meatball. I think it's just luck of draw half the time. But anyway, back up to the front of the field. It's still Christoph Lipp, just absolutely... Oh, I don't even think he's trying anymore. That's the thing about when car and track are so in harmony, honestly, the driver really isn't putting that much effort in. It's just so easy for him. He's so comfortable in his car. It looks so planted. He looks fully in control. He knows what he's doing, and he's setting consistent laps after laps after lap that are all within a few tenths of each other. And that's why he's nearly 6 seconds ahead of Andre Castro, who, well, we know is no slouch at all. And so this should be a fairly easy victory for Christoph Lipp.
Lipp really showing what it takes to be a 7K I-rated driver here. As Aaron pointed out, his fast lap is a 130.11. The last one that we were watching, where he looks completely relaxed, smooth, not even in a hurry, was only 2/10 off of that fast lap, and he's tickling the 129s, which is just nuts around here. And let's watch what he does through the chicane here, see how much curb he gets to get down into that rear. Oh my goodness. And to do that, folks, every lap for 16 laps, it takes a superhuman amount of skill and reflexes to keep that Radical on the track, hitting that chicane in that way lap after lap for as long as Lipp has been doing it. His tires are slowly going off, and he doesn't have a lot to do driving by himself, so Lipp absolutely putting on a clinic, and Castro doing pretty well too, and it's too bad that Castro was not able to stay within reach of Lipp. We might have seen some good action up front in this one. Oh, as Tom Lennox Brown shows you what the bottom of a Radical looks like as he flies over that curve. My goodness, crazy stuff.
The aggressiveness that Lipp had over those final two curbs at that chicane, but it looked so easy for him at the same time. And like you said, doing that lap after lap after lap, the consistency that comes with that, and well, it just goes to show again why he has had such an easy time of it today, whereas it seems everyone else has really struggled. I guess the only other driver you could say is kind of comparable is Castro, and even then he's 6 seconds off Lipp, and that's mostly on pure pace, as I believed when Castro did get into second place, the gap was about 1.3 seconds. And, well, it's just grown and grown and grown over the last, I want to say, 15 or so laps ever since Castro got into that second place. And, well, Christoph, he's not going to be getting any lip from anyone else today. It's an easy victory here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for him. And I believe his first victory of the season, another fastest lap just to go with it, a 30.048. And Castro was 4/10 off. And that really does show Christoph's hand. And is this a resurgence for Christoph Lipp over the rest of this season? We've got some tricky races coming up, some races that will be super competitive. And, well, it could be a resurgence for him. And James Barry, consistent as always on the podium. And, well, it was a much different race than I think we were anticipating.
Yeah, and maybe that should be our thumbnail for our saved video on demand of this one. As you see Kjetil Larsen limping around with no nose on that Radical. This one was a little rough, and we had some kind of lapses in judgment leading to some losses of control and some crashes in traffic. And that's one thing about this course with those barriers so close to the white line. There's not a lot of places to go, and not a lot you can do if somebody spins in front of you. And yeah, we're seeing they're going to have a yard sale of Radical parts here in the paddock after this one, because there's a lot of cars missing parts. Back to Larson. Behind him, here comes Groff missing his nose. And holy cow, it really makes me anticipate that upcoming race at Long Beach, Aaron, even more, where there's even less runoff, 0 or less in most areas of that track.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's going to be... I don't even know what to expect from that race, to be honest. It's going to be vaguely similar to what we saw today. I'm not sure who's going to be quick at that track, though, to be honest. Perhaps we could see a mirror of today, where it's a track that Lip might be really, really strong at. He seems to like these narrower street circuits, but I mean, I'm just spitballing at this point. It's anyone's guess. But Daytona next week is going to be interesting. I think the slipstream is going to be very similar to what we saw at Spa. It's just going to be lap after lap after lap after lap of abuse. And I think that's going to be very exciting from a spectator point of view. But the drivers, yeah, I think they might be a little bit scared.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to it. I have a lot of laps myself at Daytona. It's a place I drive over my head, and I'm wondering if these Radicals are going to run out of sixth gear as they're approaching those multiple contested entries that we're going to see there into turn one, as they're trying to get those cars woed up and trail brake into the infield. It's going to be awesome. And folks, do not miss that one. But let's go back to Montreal. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, and we'll get those results up for you. And Aaron will have those for you shortly. I'll take a look out and see who is waiting to talk to us today.
Well, it was Christoph Lip on top today, the most highly irated driver in the entire session. No surprise, the number one car was number one on the road, 6.2 seconds ahead of Andre Castro. And, well, James Barry, another 16 seconds behind, nearly 17. It really was a difficult race for everyone, third downwards. And Bjorklund, another good result for him in fourth. Luke Crowley ended up in fifth, Gonzaga in sixth, Heinz Braun in seventh place. He did manage to improve in the end. Yanakis up to eighth, Goebel in ninth, Kirakopolis in 10th, Bucklier in 11th place, Cox in 12th. Lennox Brown in 13th, Gullickson in 14th, Hesterman 15th, Larson in 16th, Graf in 17th, Holkonen in 18th place, and then Stromstead and Dorito in 19th and 20th place.
All right, my goodness, what a fantastic race. And it looks like we do have a couple of our podium finishers waiting in the interview room. So we'll go ahead and bring in Christoph Lip, your P1 finisher. And Christoph, my goodness, you are consistently competitive in the Radical Esports Cup. You've shown you've got great car control, great pace, and great consistency. But I haven't seen you lay the wood down like this before on a very difficult track. We had your in-car rolling for a couple of laps, and you were cool, calm, and collective as you were bouncing that Radical over the curbs. Almost got into the 129s, and just complete domination of the rest of the field. So how was that track day? How was that track day for you today?
JR, where to start? I'm happy. Of course, finally, after many times having a clean race. I just said to Andre in the chat, I messed up so many qualifyings and races the last times that this was my ultimate goal today. And I told you last time in the chat that this is one of my favorite tracks. And yeah, so usually I'm fast here. And fortunately for me, that was the case today. And was really good to stay in front, to build some gap to Andre and the other guys during the race, and then I could do more or less, of course, fast but safe laps, and that was it. It was a nice evening, and now looking forward to Daytona.
We have been, this was a fun and exciting race here today, but our conversation during the broadcast did turn to a couple of the future tracks on the schedule. One was Long Beach, of course, due to the walls and tight confines that it has in common with this track. But tell us what your thoughts are about Daytona. I am really looking forward to seeing these radicals on the banking. So what's your outlook on that one? How do you think that's going to go?
I think I never raced Radical there. So, we voted for it in the community and said, let's give it a try. Will be, of course, a big draft party there. And, will be interesting to see. I think for the broadcast, definitely, there will be a lot of action. You will be, entertained, is the right word. And but I have no clue. Maybe Spa-like or maybe even more. Definitely will be cool.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it. And my question is, are these radicals going to run out of 6th gear on the banking is the first thing that I'm going to be checking out when the practice sessions start up next week. So, yeah, fantastic run here, Christoph. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to say thanks or give a shout out to today?
Yeah, thanks to you guys for the wonderful broadcast. As always, I'm going to watch it back now. And then shout out to the insert name iRacing team. We are now hopping into the LMP2 for the Daytona 24, and this is going to be a great night for the guys and for me then tomorrow.
Oh, excellent. And are you doing the first session that starts tomorrow?
No, it starts I think now at 11 German time or something like that, and I will have the last sessions tomorrow. So, but it's starting in a few minutes.
All right. Oh, and you guys are jumping in the first session. All right. Well, good luck to you guys. Have fun at Daytona, and we'll see more of you at Daytona next week. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
All right. And that was your winner, Christoph Lipp. And Aaron, I've got Andre Castro here for you, so you can check in with him on how the race was for him today.
Well, welcome to the booth, Andre. It's always a pleasure having you here with us. And, not really too much to say, to be fair, from that race. You kind of eased your way into second place and then just stayed there. It was a fairly boring race from your perspective. So I guess talk us through at least those opening few laps.
Yeah, I'm happy, honestly. Like, the past few weeks, I've just, been wrecking, been just making really terrible decisions. So I wanted to bring one home and have a decent finish, so I was glad to be able to do that. First lap was good, just getting third on the start, and then going around the outside of James, I knew I had to make that move early, even though risked losing the draft of Christoph, and I did. He just had incredible pace. Even if I had not lost the draft, it would have been really hard to beat him, but yeah, when the top two and then the half the field are on the same team, you kind of have to split them up, and because they're not going to really fight. I had that, with Andreas, Friedrich, and James last season. They just wouldn't fight each other, so they always work together. So you kind of have to look after yourself, and got second on the first lap, but just got to lock up a couple laps later, got to cut course, and just didn't have the pace. I mean, Christoph was super fast, so definitely deserved the win, but happy to come away second and not have any incidents.
Yeah, we're slowly seeing that black and yellow livery just swallow up the rest of the field. It's just more and more drivers every week, it seems. But not really much else to talk about for this race. It was just a good P2 solid result from your perspective. And of course, next week we head to Daytona, I believe your first home race of the season. And, the first question about Daytona is, are you competing in the race this weekend? And if so, is it going to be good practice for the real race next Friday?
I'm not. I was considering it. Didn't really have a team come together. In 2020, I was lucky enough to, I was on a good team, and we finished second top split to Coanda. So it's kind of hard to replicate that. I mean, that was back when the average iRating of the team wasn't what counted. It was the driver who signed you up. Which, to be fair, I think I did a good job in the race as well. But now no chance of being in top split. And even if I were, it's just so competitive these days. Practice, you'd have to dedicate so many hours to it. So I didn't choose to do it this year. But obviously wish good luck to everybody that is. And yeah, no, I'm excited for next week. I'm not really, don't think I'm going for the championship anymore. So I mean, depends, how life goes if I'll be here next week, but should be good. Yeah, the competition this year has been really good as well. Like I think last season I was able to practice for 15 minutes, show up, and sometimes win by a few seconds. And these guys, this year I've been struggling compared to that. So these guys have really stepped it up. So it's been pretty crazy how the level of competition is this season. And for the other races that I do, I anticipate it being a hard fight as well.
Yeah, competition is always a good thing, and the competitiveness of this season has been absolutely insane, and we hope it continues, of course, throughout the rest of the season. And just a quick thing that you said, other people practicing for hours. Honestly, iRacing should introduce some kind of testing limitation, like you're only allowed 100 hours of testing. I think that spices things up, but I don't really know how they'd implement them. But anyway, getting off topic, but it would make it interesting at least, because I do agree with you on that point, at least. But thank you for coming and having a quick chat with us, Andre. Always a pleasure. And before you let you go, anyone you want to give a quick mention or shout out?
Again, you guys for continuing the broadcast, keeping me coming back, because I always like to participate. It's not so fun to watch and I make mistakes, watch it back, but sometimes after I cool down, I go back and I'm like, gotta watch myself make that mistake. But no, it's always a really good broadcast. And was racing clean with James there, so that was good on his part. I'm glad we made it through, and glad I stayed in front of the calamity that happened behind. But thanks to all the drivers and broadcasts, and can't wait to do it again sometime.
Thank you very much for the kind words, and I'm sure James and others appreciate them as well. And hopefully we see you back again next week at Daytona.
Hopefully, yeah. Thank you.
All right, and that was... Oops, I just dragged Aaron into the interview room, and now he's back. Sorry about that, Aaron. And that was your P2 finisher, Andre Castro, who, as we talked about, he had the pace maybe to apply pressure to Lip, but he didn't get to him fast enough, and Lip drove away in a dominant performance here. So, oh my goodness, what a fantastic race. But folks, we are not just about these fantastic radicals here on Apex Racing TV. Monday, you can start the week off strong with the Rick Matek Minimite Sports Car Challenge. They'll be taking on the American Nordschleife Virginia International Raceway for some hot sports car action. So be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the action. And my goodness, that is going to wrap up our broadcast for today. Thank you so much for joining us for today's broadcast of Week 5, 2025, Season 1 of the Radical Esports Cup. And be sure to join us next week for more Radical action at Daytona International Speedway. Do not miss it. It is going to be epic, and I cannot wait. So I am J.R. Gregory on behalf of myself, my partner, Aaron Smith, our producer, Joshua Wilkie, and everyone here at Apex Racing TV. Have a great Friday and an even better weekend.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS.